Hi, my name is Linda and I'm the host for Conversations That Lead. In this episode, we are talking about leadership. If you want to know how to build trust and manage your team virtually, watch this episode to find out more. So, are there any tips or specific ways that you actually use to build trust within your own team?
I think you just have to be honest about things. Call a spade a spade. When you have a problem, identify it together with the team. Don't try and sugarcoat it. But we're humans at the end of the day, and we encounter a lot of problems, and the problems are there to be resolved. So you bind together with them, sort out whatever the issue is, and you move on.
Welcome back to Conversations That Lead, where we strip away the polished stories to talk about what leading really actually feels like. I'm Linda, your host for this podcast, and today we're sitting down with Dato Bobby Ting, whose distinguished career spanning more than a decade in the development industry.
Yep.
And is also one of the very well-known leaders in Sarawak
Oh, wow.
himself. Let us give a warm welcome to Dato Bobby Ting.
Thank you.
Welcome to this podcast. And thank you very much on behalf of the team. We would like to thank you for your time out of your busy schedule. Take time to be here with us and to share your experience on leadership together with us.
It's my pleasure.
All right, thank you. Now, before we actually start the podcast, shall we do a little bit of Sarawakian hoo-ha?
Hoo-ha?
Yes.
Sure.
Before that, our episode for this podcast is sponsored by Sundrop. Okay, so what do you have here, Dato?
I have a mango.
I have a
mango juice, yeah.
Kopi Gao. Who knows that Sundrop can actually deliver kopi gao and it's less sugar. Okay, so let's try them out.
Try.
Okay, shall we do the hoo-ha?
Ooh.
Okay.
It's tasty.
Right.
Very good.
Low in sugar, most importantly. Okay. Now, when I was told that I would be interviewing Dato yourself, to be honest, I was a little bit anxious.
Oh, really?
Because, but excited at the same time, okay?
Okay.
Because having to be able to sit down next to such a renowned leader is truly an honor.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
And when I was told that I was interviewing Dato yourself,
Yeah.
I was, I had to do a little bit of the KYC, know your customer kind of thing. So I did a little bit of research.
Okay.
Through social media platform. I think that's the most easiest one to get to know you a little bit more and to know how do I picture this whole podcast would be. And I get to see that you are quite a humble leader. And one of the Instagram reels that I really feel connected to, I was looking through the social media, and it was during that time where you were cutting mangoes.
Okay.
You're cutting mangoes and then you end up watching your own interview
The
with TVS interview
Yeah.
together with your
Okay.
wife.
Yeah.
Okay, it was during that time that when you appear on the screen, then you kind of like a little bit slight cringe when you see yourself on the screen. So it's somehow quite relatable to me personally.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that's how I feel that you come across as a very humble leader, and I feel much more at ease when I come to this podcast interview. Okay, so before we actually move into this, but I would like to know a little bit about you, by starting to acknowledge something about leadership. Okay, because this podcast is all about leadership, so it's often getting really glamorized across, but I suspect your path, it wasn't an easy journey as well.
No, it wasn't easy.
Yeah, so what does leadership actually really mean? Because for many young entrepreneurs, leadership can feel very scary. Is it about having a clear vision, or is it about making the right decision, or inspiring others, or making really tough decisions?
To me, leadership is about storytelling, really.
Okay.
Yeah. Having a very clear picture of where you want to go and what the story needs to be like for yourself. So for me myself, being in the property development scene, moving into hotels now and senior aged care, I think it's about selling the dream to the people that work together with me, in particularly my staff. Telling them how we're going to get there, what are the milestones to achieve it, and then throughout the due course of things, there's always issues and problems, but it's about how you identify those problems and how you work together to solve them. And eventually, I think if you tell the story right to the right people and they buy the story, then you'll eventually get to where you want to go. Yeah.
Okay, so Dato's leadership definition is all about telling the right stories to the right people.
Yeah.
Correct? Okay, but there's a specific moment, or are there any specific moments that in your career where your leadership was truly tested, and how has that experience actually shaped your approach moving forward?
Yes. I think during the days when I used to work with my late father in construction, I think I was always seen as like being in the shadow of him, or being in the shadow of someone, you know, really remarkable, and then trying to, you know, fill in his shoes, you know. But I think those were one of the challenging steps for us, especially me and my other brothers as well, trying to, you know, figure out what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think with my dad's, you know, portfolio of projects that he did, breaking into the construction industry on my own was very difficult. Reworking out, you know, what type of projects to do, basically doing it from scratch. Yeah,
Yes.
I think that was one of my biggest challenges. And in construction, like, I'm not an engineering background, I'm a business graduate.
I see.
So it was a lot of, you know, learning through doing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What was the moment like? What made you actually wanted to step up to this?
I think being a business major, I always knew I wanted to do something business related. I just didn't know what. Even when I was going through my bachelor's degree, I had no idea. I knew I was coming back to Malaysia. I knew I would eventually join the family and do construction. But then I ventured out on my own, and I think that decision was one of the hardest decisions to make, to come out on my own.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But was it during that time you knew exactly it was the right thing to do?
No. It was very scary. You know,
Wow.
why would you want to leave
Exactly.
a well-established or a larger company and come out on your own and be nobody, you know? But I know that there was several challenges, you know, working in a family business. So I really wanted to create something truly on my own. Yeah.
Right, right. And then it wasn't easy starting off.
It was very challenging. I mean, you know, the consultants that worked for my father ended up working for me as well.
I see.
So, and there's very different styles of executing projects. So I had to really kind of find my own rhythm and beat to try and do my own work, really.
Right, right. Because when you step out, you need to find your own team as well, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So how do you actually build from a small team to what you have today? How do you actually build them from scratch?
It's not easy. I mean, when I first started my business, it was when I was probably about 26 to 27 years old, coming in and undertaking projects. And then, you know, I had staff members who were much older than me as well. And, you know, they're like, who's this kid? You know, like, what's he trying to do? And trying to sell them what I actually want to do is very difficult. And I think when you establish a business, one of the hardest things is aligning your goals together with your employees. And we went through a lot of trials and tribulations doing that, staff coming and going. But I think eventually, you know, like I say, we found our rhythm, we found our beat. People were in tune with what we were doing in terms of construction, in tune with the products that we're actually selling as well. And yeah, we're basically one big happy family now, but it's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
I'm sure it's not easy because, you know, the hardest part for an entrepreneur, especially for young entrepreneurs like us, is building trust within one another.
Correct.
So are there any tips or specific ways that you actually use to build trust within your own team?
I think you just have to be honest about things. You know, call a spade a spade. When you have a problem, identify it together with the team. Don't try and sugarcoat it. But you know, we're humans at the end of the day, and we encounter a lot of problems. And the problems are there to be resolved. So you bind together with them, sort out whatever the issue is, and you move on. Yeah.
Okay. So your journey of leadership, it was ever changing, Correct. Can I say that? So have you ever encountered a moment where you had to rebuild the trust among your team or your stakeholders or your contractors and whatnot?
Not really rebuilding trust.
Right.
I think as a business owner, you have issues,
Right.
money issues especially as well, financial cash flow issues. So I think especially when you're starting a business, money doesn't flow, and it's always difficult to find out where the cash flow is coming from, when you're going to hit a break-even point, and when profit actually starts to come in. So I think in terms of cash flow, it's never easy for smaller businesses, or even when
Right.
you're starting. It's not even easy now when the businesses are ongoing already. But I think keeping everyone salaries paid, and the projects rolling. I think those are the biggest challenges.
Yeah. So any ways to actually overcome this?
Planning.
Planning.
Yeah. I don't know, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this, but in Australia we have a saying where planning prevents piss poor performance, and it's basically identifying everything that needs to be known within a given task, ensuring that you have all the knowledge and skills required to actually execute that. And once you identify all that, it's really hard to not be able to execute it if you know how to overcome those challenges, those problems especially as well. But being real with it as well.
Right. So currently you have how many in your team? I think.
From construction team to management to building management, I think all in we're probably sitting at about just under 190 odd staff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot.
So that includes, we do everything in-house, from construction as well. So from project manager level all the way down to, general laborers, they're all in-house. The only things that we kind of sub out are mechanical and electrical works,
Right.
Which is a little bit more, knowledge intensive. So we don't do those works ourselves, But
Okay, with this big team yourself, I'm sure that when you're dealing with humans, there's bound to be like certain situations where you have to deal with really high pressure, or you have to manage people's emotions at times. And do you have any specific framework or approach to that?
I like to guide the team members in my company a lot, really understanding who they are, what they're going through. Did they just have a baby, or what stage of their life they're in, and work with them to work for us. I have team members that are involved in the hotel project now, for example, that don't have experience building a hotel.
Right.
But once you break it down to them in terms of public area space, rooms, banquets, what needs to go in there, you're basically renovating a house, but just on a larger scale,
Right.
So once you break it down to bite-sized pieces with the team members, I think it's easier for them to swallow, to chew through, to understand. So once you start that nurturing process, the team members feel like, okay, I've got someone behind me that can support me. And I think that's when they can actually thrive, knowing that there's support there, not someone that will just tell them off for doing the wrong thing.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's very important.
Okay, so we were just talking about communication within your team and also nurturing your team to actually let them know that they're not alone, right?
Correct.
Yeah, we were talking about that. So, were there any situations where you had to, being forced to let people go?
Forced to let people go.
Right.
I have had a few instances, but not many, thankfully.
Okay.
Those instances, I think, they had a lot of personal issues, and they, in the end, couldn't, be a team player, basically. And I think we didn't end up firing them, but I think in the end, they knew that, this space wasn't for them, and then eventually they moved on. Yeah.
I see. So you don't have to do the kind of like, I think perhaps, this is not suitable for you. Maybe it's time for you, other places are I don't know how should actually leaders, you know, put this in words, because it's not a very nice thing to do.
It's not.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, as a leader, you're basically management, right?
Right.
That needs to kind of nurture people and see where they are in terms of their career paths as well. We had an instance when someone was quite old already. I think he was 70 plus.
Okay.
And he wasn't able to fit in. So we sat down, we had the talk, and, you know, we basically said, look, how's things going? You know, XYZ is not comfortable working with you. And we broke it down to see what the actual issue was. And I think in the end, he kind of realized that, okay, maybe this is not my space. It's going to be more uncomfortable for me to continue. And then, yeah, he exited the company. But yeah, it's not a nice thing to go through.
Yeah, exactly. But having that honest conversation actually helps.
It does, because I think sometimes they may not know their own actions. They may not know how people perceive them as well. And I think coming from a third party, you need to sit down and discuss these things with them. But once, it's not a forceful discussion. It's just giving your perspective on where they're at. And then, yeah, convincing them that, you know, hey, this may not be the right fit. Yeah.
Right. So building a company involves like having difficult conversations with people as well.
Yeah.
And with your busy schedule, you know, you're constantly flying around, you know, you're here and there. How do you actually navigate all these situations? And are there any specific tools or strategies for you to manage your team when you're not around?
WhatsApp is a savior. I basically manage everything via WhatsApp.
Okay.
So we've got hundreds of group chats.
Wow.
And I urge all our team members to, you know, contribute to the group chats. That's where documents are stored, where our drawings are circulated, our comments are circulated. It may sound like a very, you know, silly thing, but it's accessible wherever I am in the world.
Right.
We don't run any fancy software or programming to do so. But yeah, I mean, I think it's about keeping in touch with the team, knowing where everything is at, you know, and the team members need to be honest with me where they're at as well in terms of progress, in terms of, you know, issues and how we're going to resolve those issues, and of course, yeah, how much things cost as well. But yeah, I've been able to do it. My friends laugh at me because they're like, oh, you build 600 apartments via WhatsApp.
Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
I do.
Okay. I would love to do that as well, you know, if I had the chance. But, you know, young people nowadays, right? I believe that there's a lot of young people in your team as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do have this, you know, flexibility. They do want this flexibility. So how do you actually view this flexibility?
I think I do believe in a work-life balance, obviously.
Right.
But telling them that, you know, your time here in the company during office hours is when we all need to thrive together, you know. Mm-hmm. I'm not one of those bosses that goes home and starts sending out emails at 10 p.m. I really feel like that's a no-no. I think it needs to be done at the right place and the right time. Encouraging them to have that work-life balance. I play pickleball with them on Sundays.
Wow.
To really understand them
what they're going through.
And what they're going through, you
Okay.
know. So it's that kind of like it's team building, really, you know. Once your team members are comfortable enough with you, then you know that, you know, if you have any issue later on down the track, they'll have your back, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that type of rapport that, you know, I try to keep up with, you know, majority of my team members. Obviously, I can't do it to all of them, but now my senior management team, I'm very in check with, you know, how the kids are doing in school, or when they're traveling abroad, or where they're going for holidays, and I can share, you know, travel tips with them, or where to go, where to eat, and things like that. But I guess it's just building that friendship and relationship up.
Right, right. But with flexibility comes, you know, a lot of people nowadays, they feel like, you know, I want to work from home. Do you get that?
Yeah.
Do you get that within the younger generations nowadays?
Post-COVID, I think there was a lot of that request.
Right.
But it's very hard to build a construction site from home.
Right.
And I think it works in some industries. So like in, you know, media or marketing, you can do that remotely.
Yes.
But when it comes to meetings for construction, like for the hotels, you have to touch and feel fabrics and materials. It's really hard. Yeah.
Right.
Do I encourage? I mean, again, it depends on the industry as well.
Okay. Yeah. So I can see that, most of the time you feel that building a relationship with your staff is very crucial in maintaining this trust and how to ensure a smooth operation within your company.
Correct.
Yes. Correct. And I saw again from social media that there was one time, it was Chinese New Year, you're wearing this Chai Shen Ye. You're becoming the Chai Shen Ye mascot and then giving out ang paos to your staff. And I think it's not many leaders can actually tear down the face, the ego to actually do that, which I think is also part of relationship building. Do you believe that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, me getting beyond my comfort zones and doing things and putting a smile on their face, and it's Chinese New Year,
right.
So I figured, why not do something fun? We have a friend that does our social media campaigns. She said, don't you think it would be cool to do that? And I was just like, no.
So you don't want to do it.
No, it's not really my thing.
Oh, okay. But you did well. But
it was floated to me, and I was like, sure, let's just do it. I think it'll be fun, and the staff had a kick out of it.
Right. I'm sure. And out of your busy schedule now, with moving on to your family, because you have 2 beautiful kids.
2 boys.
I heard 2 boys.
Yeah.
Now pretty grown up right now. So how do you actually manage, family and work together all at once, and travels, all here and there?
Yeah, and I think with kids, it's all about communication as well.
Right.
Telling them that when my time in Sydney with them is to be present with them, and to tell them that this is family time. But obviously, they understand that money doesn't grow on trees. Dad needs to work, and I try and do as much as I can, being a normal dad with them. Take them to soccer, take them to buy things, take them, to museums and things like that. But then they also understand that I have to work.
Right, so definitely. You have to put food on the table.
Put food on the table and get things done. And they're very in tune with what I do now. I think as they get older, so they know that, I'm going to China. They're like, when are you going? How was it? They're a bit more inquisitive now as they grow older as well.
Right.
But it's not easy. I mean, I've been back here for 3 weeks now, and usually it's only like a 1 or 2 week time frame that I'm away. But yeah, I'll get back. They'll be back next week, so I'll be able to spend some good time with them.
Okay. Was it a bit more difficult when they were younger, or when you started out being a father? Because I think during that time it was also when your career started to grow as well. Was it a bit more difficult back then?
I think it was easier back then.
Oh wow!
Because they were younger, so like they always had grandma, grandpa around, so they were never left without someone by their side.
Right.
Now it's a lot more difficult compared to when they were babies. My youngest one misses me the most. He's always, FaceTiming me after school, and yeah, I mean I guess it's what we have to deal with as parents.
Right. Because do you happen to have this dad guilt? Because for me personally, I do have a young toddler right now. So when I'm away or when there's holiday, but I have to attend to work, it somehow gets into me, and it's quite guilty, I would say.
It is.
Right.
And we just want to be present for our kids, at all times. But due to work commitments, it's never easy to always be around. But I think, when they know that we have to travel for work, I can't do everything remotely, and explaining that to them as well, so they understand that. So far, they've been okay. Mum's with them. Mum's barking at them every day. So
right.
they're okay.
Yeah, because I see that you have a very supportive family, and I think that's the main thing, for you to be able to focus more on your career side.
Yeah. Chantel's very supportive of what I'm doing. My mum's very supportive. So my mum's over there helping to look after my kids at the moment. So
that's nice.
It's good. It's good. Everyone binds behind, you know, whatever issues we have. Like, and the issue now is that I have to physically be here. So
right.
Yeah, we work around it as a family, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think family is also part of the important thing when it comes to being able to lead properly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because currently I'm here with you, and it's also my family who is supposed to take care of, you know, the little ones. So I'm really, really grateful for that, and I'm sure you are as well, right?
Yeah.
And were there any specific values that you picked up from your family that you wanna how to implement it in your leadership styles?
I think things that my dad used to always do is like doing family rituals, you know, like whether it's prayer days on day 1, day 15, we do that at the crack of dawn at like 5:30 in the morning. So I think when I saw my parents have so much diligence in things such as that, I think it transcended on to me, and I try and do things very timely. I try and do things with somewhat of a ritual even, you know, and I think that helps me get through life as well.
Yes, it does show, especially when you're here today earlier than expected. we really appreciate, you know, people who are on time, because we do feel that, you know, time management is also part of a process of respecting the other people's time. For meetings, how often do you conduct meetings in your office?
So we have a weekly site meeting, but with the management staff, I think very informal meetings.
Very
usually,
informal.
Once in the morning and another call in the afternoon as well.
I see.
Probably a bit more often compared to what most companies actually do, but I think there's so many decisions moving at the same time that we need to realign everyone on a daily basis. So even if it's not from, you know, a physical meeting, it could be through the WhatsApp group chat that we update everyone what's going on.
I see, through text as well?
Through text, yeah.
Okay. Do you consider through text also as an updates meeting?
It's communication at the end of the day, yeah.
Okay.
So
Great.
whenever I finish a call with consultants, I will relay, you know, the messages through the group chats, and also gives it as a log for me as well, because there's so many things going on at the same time that I can refer back to and say, okay, that's when that decision was made, and have that as on record and file, really.
Right. Do you feel that, you know, sometimes when you're on WhatsApp, you know, all the documents are on WhatsApp, do you feel that there are times when, you know, it needs proper realigning, you know, especially with all this, you know, when it comes to construction, there's a lot of documentations going around. So do you happen to have that sort of moment that you feel like, you know, we need to do more than just, you know, input every documents into WhatsApp?
Yeah, I mean, we because things like our ID work at the moment, you know, you can't really see this fabric just on a document, you know. So physically we have to meet up and gather everyone's thoughts on, you know, what shade of color it may be, the durability of it, the price of it, and things like that. So physical meetings are essential at this stage of the project. Okay, so that's part of how you actually manage your team as well, right? So I believe that, you know, as you go along your journey, it wasn't an easy journey as well. So I'm sure you have your own setbacks and personal, emotional to deal with. Then how do you actually deal with moments when you feel a little bit more negative? Because we're all humans, it's very normal for us to feel really down at times, and when you are faced with, you know, difficult things or situations, then how do you actually deal with it? Mental stress, I would say. Mental stress. Something that I've been doing religiously for like the last 9 months is exercise. So
exercise.
I'm up at 6:30, 6 o'clock.
Every day?
I do 5Ks in the morning, just to clear my mind and get my body ready to tackle the day. I find that very, very useful. Wakes you up, gets you pumped, and when I'm on the treadmill, it gives me clarity to think about what tasks I need to get through that day. And I think it's basically understanding yourself, how you feel that day, what you're going through, in order to tackle whatever task you have for that day. So I guess that's kind of helped me a lot. A lot of people were worried, oh geez, Bobby, you're renovating a 430 room hotel in a year.
Exactly.
And I had that scariness as well. I had that self-doubt as well.
Yeah, exactly. How do you actually, put that self-doubt away?
Not easy.
Yes, because we all do, face with self-doubts on a daily basis, I would say. Yeah. Especially for young people nowadays.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, like, a lot of people were looking at me for the hotel, like, how long is it going to take,
Right.
Then I look back at my wedding videos, and my dad was giving his speech, and he actually built the hotel in 11 months. So I was like, if he built the hotel in 11 months, am I going to take 2 years to renovate it? I'm like,
does that give you a little bit of pressure?
Yeah, so I was like, no, I can't. But then, can I do it in 6 months? No, I can't. Then I thought, okay, let's work on a time frame. And as a leader, you have to set the target. If you don't set a target, the time frame is going to lapse from 1 year, year and a half, 2 years. Because no one will have direction. Yeah.
Right.
So I gave a realistic target of year end, and start to sell that story to everyone. And I had a lot of self-doubt that I could achieve it at first.
Right.
But I think in understanding the actual project, breaking down every component to understand what actually needs to be done, I look back and I said, hey, it is doable. Like, we're still months away. I think you'll see more physical progress in the next couple of months. But yeah, it was very daunting. But I think, like I said, someone needs to set the pace,
Right.
And if I don't know the work that needs to be done, and I don't have the right team members to tell that to, then it will never get done. Yeah.
Right.
But
right.
I think I was able to sell the dream,
Yes,
so to speak. I don't know whether we'll get there, but I don't think we're going to be far off.
But you did it. You did it well.
We'll get there.
You did it well. You did it well. So basically, you mentioned that you have all these self-doubts when it comes to taking up this renovating the hotel project.
Yeah.
But what was the thing that actually triggers you? Hey, I really really want to do this. What was the thing?
For the hotel, I think it's a little bit personal as well, because my late father really loved that property a lot, and to see that property in despair for so many years, it's a funny story actually. I was actually in a coffee shop having my breakfast, and the auntie comes up and says, "Hey, when you're opening the hotel, can open already lah?" I was like, wow, I'm having breakfast and I get told off for not doing it.
Okay.
That was a bit of a reality kick as well. It's like, wow, everyone's looking at the property. Okay, maybe I really need to do something about it. And I think that's when the journey started.
So that was the point when you feel like, hey, it's time to do something about it.
Correct, yeah. But I think for the hotel project as well, it kind of aligned with one of our goals, and one of our key projects in the hotel is the Senior Wellness Center, which is targeted at the elderly. So we were actually looking at that project for several years already. But we were actually looking at doing a purpose-built facility off-site at another location.
But also in Kuching?
In Kuching, yeah.
Okay.
But after we had to build a lot of units to sell it to come up with enough cash flow and so forth in order to invest in the facility. Unfortunately, the feasibility for it didn't work out. So that's when I started to look at other sites and where I could house a senior wellness center. And then the hotel came around. I was like, okay, perfect. So I kind of killed two birds with one stone. One, I'm able to reopen the hotel. We cut down the size of the hotel from 430 rooms to 320 rooms.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the major challenges that the hotel faced previously. There was so many rooms. And then I was able to carve out a third of the building, and that's where the senior care collective is coming into. Yeah.
Right.
So trying to identify, opportunities and solve your problems. I think that's how that project came about. Yeah.
Okay. All right, that was a very interesting story to how the hotel actually started off.
Yeah.
And it was also part of the how do you call it? Part of the process of getting new talents into your company as well, right? With the reopening of the hotels and managing the senior wellness as well.
Correct.
Right,
Yeah.
because like we talked about it, before this podcast actually started. There's a lot of young talents out there who is looking for opportunities to explore, and then also to find a good leader actually to assist them, to nurture them.
Yeah.
So what are any advice that you could give for young entrepreneurs out there, for people like me? So one piece of advice for them to start up their entrepreneur journey.
I think for young entrepreneurs, they really need to understand what they want to do, whether it's a segment or industry first, and then spearhead into that industry and identify where the opportunities are, and really to have a go at it. Don't be shy. Don't be embarrassed if you make mistakes. I think it's all about evaluating whether this is the right thing for me. And I think if you understand that, okay, I'm passionate about being in this field, call it social media, then work in ways that you can actually work towards those goals. In Kuching, I see a lot of young talent, and I think they don't have the right network, or they don't have the right exposure in order to get into their dream job.
Right.
But perseverance is key as well. Continuing. Once you have a setback, don't just give up. Understand what that setback was, and then jump back on the horse and go at it again.
Right.
Yeah. So
right.
never giving up, I guess. Yeah.
Right.
Just because you may have encountered some small issues are. I mean, everyone has problems. It's about how you actually
navigate through,
overcome those problems.
Right.
Yeah, is how successful you're going to be. Yeah.
Right. So when it comes to passion and the reality, sometimes it's a bit two different things.
Yeah.
So were there times when for young people like us, is there a time to move on, or do you feel like if we encounter this certain setbacks and we navigate it, but then at the end of the day we realize that hey, it's not something that what we want. So do you think what are the points, or when should we know, or when should we know that we should move on from this?
I guess it comes down to financially, yeah.
Okay.
Everyone's in business for money,
right, exactly.
or to turn a profit. So I think if you have to evaluate how much of an investment you require to start up, and then there's the risks associated with it. If you can't sell enough of a product, then you're obviously in the hole. Knowing when to get out, I think, is very important, right? So what is your threshold? Am I willing to sink more money into it to get it going, or do I cut my losses?
Yeah.
I think it's very hard to tell someone generally
when to move on.
But yeah, situation specifics. Yeah.
But personally, from your experience, out of your business experience, how long would you give yourself time frame to try things out before you actually decided, hey, let's move on from this? Are there any specific goals or timeline that you set for yourself? Let me, for example, okay, this is my passion. Let me try it for maybe 2 years, and if 2 years, no any financial positivity that comes from this, maybe that's time to move on. Would you do that?
I do evaluate things from that perspective. Okay. Like I was in F&B at one stage as well.
Oh wow!
And we ran 2 outlets. I think for me, understanding the difficulties of running an F&B operation, basically it was just too overwhelming for me at that stage. Money-wise, it didn't make sense because all that work and effort going into it, I wasn't seeing the rewards on it. So I love food, obviously. But
okay.
Sometimes you have to know when to just be a customer and not operate a whole operation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How long did that take you to
It
realize
took a while actually. I think it was longer than 2 years. I think it was about 5 or 6 years, and then that's when it was more of a hobby. And then after that, I started to think, okay, my time and dedication into this field is not reaping much rewards, and that's when I moved into construction, and I was like, okay, I need to focus more time on
right
the bigger projects than running an outlet. Yeah.
Right. So set a time frame, when it doesn't reaps you any rewards financially, it's time to move on. Yeah, correct. So I think we have learned a lot from you today, and we're coming to the end of the podcast. But before that, let's do a rapid fire round. Where you do, give your best advice in just 1 or 2 sentences with a few questions.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Sure.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. So number 1, what's one habit every young entrepreneur should have?
Every young entrepreneur should understand themselves, like as a person, who they are and what they're capable of, before deep diving into something.
Okay, so next question. What's the biggest mistakes that actually you see young entrepreneurs now are making?
I think young entrepreneurs nowadays think it's too easy, and I'll throw 1 month into it. If it doesn't work, I'll bail. I think time and attention focus needs to be longer. Yeah, they need to persevere on that. Yeah.
Okay. So next question, what's one book or resources that you actually recommend someone starting their entrepreneur journey?
For me, I read Sir Richard Branson's book, his biography. I think he really resonated with me because he was kind of like my father. He had so many different businesses and industries, and he'll have a go at every single industry, whether it's a drink, bridal wear, airline, like he just went at it. It's a great book, you should read it. Okay,
great. And last one, what's your best advice for staying motivated during tough times?
Staying motivated. Understand that there's a pot of gold at the end, and you just have to get there. Really go through all the issues, but understand that you will eventually get to where you want to if you believe in yourself.
All right, that's such a very insightful session for you all. I hope you guys get that down, and as we close down to the podcast today, we really want to thank you once again, Dato Bobby, for your time and effort and your humbleness through your sharing, and we really learned a lot from you. It's not easy to get out there, share personal stories and be vulnerable, especially big leaders like yourself. And I hope that the listener today can also have the most value out of this podcast as well. And once again, Dato Bobby, thank you for your time here.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Let us end the podcast with another Ooha session, shall we? Okay, ready?
Cheers.
1, 2, Ooha!